Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. As they moved through the shop, Mackenzie found herself drawn to a display of delicate earrings. She'd never had her ears pierced, but the idea suddenly seemed appealing. Her fingers hovered over a pair of small emerald studs that would match her dress perfectly. "Those would look lovely on you," Lane commented, noticing her interest. Mackenzie bit her lip, considering. Do you think I could pull them off?" "Absolutely," Lane assured her. "And if you're worried about piercing, they probably have clip-on options too." With a surge of courage, Mackenzie turned to the saleswoman. "Excuse me?" she called softly. "Do you have these in clip-on style?" The woman approached with a smile. "We certainly do. Would you like to try them on?" Mackenzie nodded, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and nervousness. The saleswoman retrieved the clip-on version of the earrings and held up a small mirror as she helped Mackenzie put them on. The effect was subtle but transformative. The emerald studs caught the light, drawing attention to Mackenzie's eyes and complementing the color of her dress perfectly. She turned her head slightly, admiring how they looked from different angles. "Oh, Mackenzie," Lane breathed. "They're perfect." The use of her chosen name in public sent a thrill through Mackenzie. She met Lane's eyes in the mirror, seeing her own joy reflected back at her. "I'll take them," Mackenzie decided, her voice firm with newfound confidence. As the saleswoman rang up their purchase, Mackenzie felt a sense of accomplishment washing over her. It was a small step, perhaps, but it felt monumental. She was choosing to embrace this part of herself, to adorn and celebrate it rather than hide it away. Leaving the shop with their purchase tucked safely in a bag, Mackenzie felt as though she was walking on air. The weight of her secret, which had burdened her for so long, seemed to lift with each step. "What would you like to do now?" Lane asked as they strolled hand in hand through the hotel. Mackenzie considered for a moment. The confidence from their successful shopping trip was still thrumming through her veins. I think I'd like to have lunch at the hotel restaurant," she said, surprising herself with her boldness. "If that's okay with you?" Lane's face lit up with pride and excitement. "Of course it's okay. Mackenzie, that's wonderful. Are you sure you're comfortable with that?" Mackenzie took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "I think so," she said. "I mean, I'm nervous, but I also feel ready, like I want to experience more of being me." "Then let's do it," Lane said, giving Mackenzie's hand a reassuring squeeze. "And remember, if at any point you feel uncomfortable, we can leave. No questions asked." They made their way to the hotel's main restaurant, a luxurious space with crystal chandeliers and white tablecloths. Mackenzie felt her heart rate pick up as they approached the maitre d', but she forced herself to stand tall and meet his gaze. "Good afternoon, ladies," he greeted them with a polite smile. "Table for two." Mackenzie nodded, not trusting her voice in that moment. The maitre d' led them to a table near one of the large windows, overlooking the hotel's picturesque grounds. As they settled into their seats, Mackenzie couldn't help but marvel at how normal it all felt, and yet how extraordinary at the same time. Their waiter approached, handing them each a menu. "Good afternoon," he said warmly. "Can I start you ladies off with something to drink?" Mackenzie glanced at Lane, who gave her an encouraging nod. "I'll have a glass of white wine, please," Mackenzie said, her voice soft but steady. "Make that too," Lane added with a smile. As the waiter left to fetch their drinks, Mackenzie let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "This is really happening," she murmured, half to herself. Lane reached across the table to take her hand. "It is," she confirmed. "And you're doing amazingly, Mackenzie. How do you feel?" Mackenzie took a moment to really consider the question. "Nervous," she admitted, "but also exhilarated, like I'm finally allowing myself to be seen, really seen." Their wine arrived, and Mackenzie found herself relaxing as they perused the menu and chatted about their options. By the time their food came, she was feeling more at ease, even managing to smile and thank the waiter without a tremor in her voice. As they enjoyed their meal, Mackenzie found herself people-watching, something she'd always enjoyed but now saw from a new perspective. She noticed the way other women sat, how they gestured as they spoke, the little adjustments they made to their clothing or hair. Without even realizing it, she found herself mimicking some of these behaviors, each small action feeling like another step towards embodying her true self. "You know," Lane said between bites of her salad, "I was thinking, we still have a few days left of our stay here. If you're comfortable with it, we could see about booking you a spa day. Maybe get your nails done, have a facial, really pamper yourself." Mackenzie's eyes widened at the suggestion. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. "Do you think, would that be okay? I mean, wouldn't they realize?" Lane shook her head. "Mackenzie, honey, look around. You fit in perfectly here. And even if someone did suspect something, which I doubt they would, it's their job to make all their clients feel comfortable and pampered. Plus, this hotel prides itself on discretion. I'm sure they've seen it all." Mackenzie bit her lip, considering. The thought of being pampered, of fully embracing this feminine experience was incredibly appealing. Maybe we could look into it," she said hesitantly. "I'm not sure I'm ready to commit, but we could at least see what they offer." "Of course," Lane agreed readily. "We can stop by the spa on our way back to the room and pick up a brochure. No pressure, just information gathering." As they finished their meal, Mackenzie realized with a start that she'd almost forgotten about her initial nervousness. She'd made it through an entire lunch in public, being perceived and treated as a woman without incident. The realization filled her with a warm glow of accomplishment. They left the restaurant hand in hand, Mackenzie holding her head high as they crossed the lobby towards the spa. The receptionist greeted them with a friendly smile, happily providing them with a detailed brochure of services. Back in their room, Mackenzie kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief. As comfortable as she felt in her feminine attire, she was still getting used to the physical sensations of it all. She curled up on the bed, brochure in hand, while Lane settled in beside her. "So," Lane said, her tone casual but her eyes sparkling with excitement, "see anything that interests you?" Mackenzie flipped through the pages, her eyes widening at the array of services offered. Facials, massages, manicures, pedicures, hair treatments. The list seemed endless. "It all looks so luxurious," she murmured. "That's the idea," Lane chuckled. "Any treatments catching your eye in particular?" Mackenzie hesitated, then pointed to a package that included a manicure, pedicure, and facial. "This one looks nice," she said softly. "But, I don't know, it feels so indulgent." Lane wrapped an arm around Mackenzie's shoulders, pulling her close. "Honey, if there was ever a time to indulge, it's now. You're exploring a whole new side of yourself. You deserve to be pampered." Warmth bloomed in Mackenzie's chest at Lane's words. "You really think so? I know so," Lane said firmly. "And if you're worried about anything, I'll be right there with you. We can book treatments together if that would make you more comfortable." Mackenzie considered for a long moment, weighing her desire against her lingering fears. Finally, she took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let's do it." Lane's face lit up with a brilliant smile. "Really? Oh, Mackenzie, this is going to be wonderful. Should we call down and book it now?" With another nod from Mackenzie, Lane reached for the phone. As she spoke with the spa receptionist, arranging their treatments for the following day, Mackenzie felt a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation building within her. This was another big step, another way of embracing her feminine identity in a very public, very real way. When Lane hung up the phone, she turned to Mackenzie with a grin. "All set for tomorrow afternoon," she announced. "They even said they could do a blowout for you if you'd like to style your wig." Mackenzie's hand flew to her head, suddenly self-conscious about the wig she'd almost forgotten she was wearing. Do you think they'll be okay with me? She asked hesitantly. Lane took Mackenzie's hands in hers, her expression serious but kind.
Mackenzie, listen to me. You are a paying customer at a high-end hotel spa. Their job is to make you feel beautiful and pampered, period. And besides, you've already shown today how naturally you fit into this role.
I promise you, everything will be fine. Mackenzie nodded, trying to absorb Lane's confidence. You're right, she said, managing a small smile. I'm just nervous, I guess. This all still feels so new. And that's perfectly okay, Lane assured her. You're allowed to be nervous, but I'll be right there with you every step of the way. They spent the rest of the evening in their room, ordering room service and watching movies. Mackenzie remained in her dress, reveling in the feeling of being her true self in this private space. As they prepared for bed, she found herself reluctant to change out of her feminine attire. Lane, perceptive as always, noticed her hesitation. You know, she said casually, there's no rule that says you have to change. You could sleep in your nightgown again if you'd like. Mackenzie's face lit up at the suggestion. Really? You wouldn't mind? Mind? Mackenzie, I want you to be comfortable and happy. If wearing the nightgown makes you feel good, then that's what you should do. With a grateful smile, Mackenzie slipped into the silky nightgown. As she settled into bed beside Lane, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Thank you, she murmured, snuggling close to her partner, for everything. Lane pressed a soft kiss to Mackenzie's forehead. You don't need to thank me. I love you, all of you. This is just another beautiful facet of the person I adore. As Mackenzie drifted off to sleep, she felt more whole, more herself than she ever had before. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new experiences, but for now, she was content in the knowledge that she was accepted and loved for exactly who she was. The next morning, Mackenzie woke to the soft light filtering through the curtains, the silky nightgown a gentle reminder of her newfound freedom. For a moment, she simply lay there, savoring the feeling of being her true self. Lane stirred beside her, blinking sleepily. Good morning, beautiful, she murmured, her voice still thick with sleep. Mackenzie felt a warmth bloom in her chest at the endearment. Good morning, she replied softly, marveling at how natural it felt to use her more feminine voice. As they got ready for the day, Mackenzie found herself drawn once again to the emerald dress. She ran her fingers over the soft fabric, a small smile playing on her lips. Thinking of wearing it again today? Lane asked, noticing Mackenzie's interest. Mackenzie nodded. Is that okay? I mean, I know we're going to the spa later, but of course it's okay, Lane assured her, coming over to wrap her arms around Mackenzie's waist. You should wear whatever makes you feel most comfortable and confident. With Lane's help, Mackenzie slipped into the dress, relishing the way the fabric settled against her skin. She stepped into her heels, wobbling slightly before finding her balance. I think I need more practice in these, she admitted with a soft laugh. Lane grinned. Well, we have all morning before our spa appointment. Why don't we go for a walk around the hotel grounds again? You can get used to the heels, and we can grab some breakfast at that little cafe we saw yesterday. The idea both thrilled and terrified Mackenzie. Yesterday's lunch had gone well, but breakfast felt somehow more intimate, more exposed. Still, the thought of experiencing a full day as her true self was too tempting to resist. Okay, she agreed, taking a deep breath to steady her nerves. Let's do it. They made their way down to the lobby, Mackenzie concentrating on each step in her heels. As they crossed the marble floor, she caught her reflection in a large mirror and almost did a double take. The woman staring back at her looked confident, elegant, everything Mackenzie had always dreamed of being. The hotel's grounds were quieter in the morning, with only a few early risers out for jogs or leisurely walks. Mackenzie and Lane strolled hand in hand along the winding paths, pausing occasionally to admire a particularly beautiful flower or the way the morning light sparkled on the fountain. As they approached the cafe, Mackenzie felt her heart rate pick up. The outdoor seating area was about half full, with couples and small groups enjoying their morning coffee and pastries. Lane squeezed her hand reassuringly. "You've got this," she murmured. "Remember, we're just two friends out for breakfast. Nothing more, nothing less." Mackenzie nodded, squaring her shoulders as they approached the host stand. The young man there greeted them with a friendly smile. "Good morning, ladies. Table for two?" "Yes, please," Mackenzie replied, pleasantly surprised by how steady her voice sounded. They were led to a small table near the edge of the patio, offering a lovely view of the gardens. As they settled into their seats, Mackenzie couldn't help but notice a few appreciative glances from other patrons. Rather than making her uncomfortable, she found herself feeling flattered. Their waiter appeared moments later, notepad in hand. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. "Can I start you ladies off with some coffee or tea?" "Coffee for me, please," Lane replied. Mackenzie hesitated for a moment before making her decision. "I'll have an Earl Grey tea if you have it," she said, her voice soft but clear. "Excellent choice." The waiter nodded. "I'll be right back with your drinks, and then I can take your breakfast order." As he walked away, Mackenzie let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Lane reached across the table to take her hand. "You're doing great," she said softly. "How are you feeling?" Mackenzie took a moment to really consider the question. "Nervous," she admitted, "but also exhilarated. It's like I'm seeing the world through new eyes." Their drinks arrived, and Mackenzie found herself relaxing as they perused the menu. She decided on a light breakfast of fruit and yogurt, while Lane opted for a more substantial plate of eggs and bacon. As they waited for their food, Mackenzie found herself people-watching, something she'd always enjoyed, but now saw from a new perspective. She noticed the way other women sat, how they gestured as they spoke, the little adjustments they made to their clothing or hair. Without even realizing it, she found herself mimicking some of these behaviors, each small action feeling like another step towards embodying her true self. Their breakfast arrived, beautifully presented on delicate china plates. Mackenzie picked up her fork, conscious of her movements as she speared a piece of melon. She caught Lane watching her with a soft smile. "What?" Mackenzie asked, suddenly self-conscious. Lane shook her head, her smile widening. "Nothing. It's just, you look so natural, so at ease. It's beautiful to see." Warmth bloomed in Mackenzie's chest at the compliment. She ducked her head, feeling a blush creep up her cheeks. "Thank you," she murmured. "I feel right. Like this is who I was always meant to be." They lingered over their breakfast, chatting about nothing and everything. Mackenzie found herself laughing more freely than she had in years, gesturing animatedly as she told Lane about a book she'd recently read. It wasn't until she noticed other tables starting to clear that she realized how much time had passed. "We should probably head back," Lane said, glancing at her watch. "We don't want to be late for our spa appointments." A flutter of nervousness stirred in Mackenzie's stomach at the reminder, but it was overshadowed by a growing excitement. They paid their bill and made their way back through the hotel grounds, Mackenzie marveling at how much more comfortable she felt in her heels after just a few hours of practice. Back in their room, they had just enough time to freshen up before heading down to the spa. Mackenzie stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down her dress and adjusting her wig. She met Lane's eyes in the reflection. "Ready?" Lane asked softly. Mackenzie took a deep breath, then nodded. "Ready." They made their way down to the spa level, the scent of aromatherapy oils and soft, soothing music greeting them as the elevator doors opened. The reception area was a study in understated luxury, with plush seating and softly bubbling water features creating a tranquil atmosphere. A smiling receptionist greeted them warmly. "Good afternoon, ladies. Do you have an appointment?" "Yes," Lane replied. "Under the name Thompson? We have a package booked for 2. The receptionist tapped at her computer for a moment, then nodded. "Of course, I have you right here. If you'll follow me, I'll show you to the changing area where you can get into your robes and slippers." As they were led through the spa, Mackenzie felt a mix of excitement and nervousness bubbling up inside her. This was another big step, another way of embracing her feminine identity in a very public, very real way. The changing area was private and luxurious, with individual cubicles for changing and plush robes hanging ready for use. Mackenzie hesitated for a moment, suddenly unsure. Lane, sensing her uncertainty, placed a gentle hand on her arm. "Remember," she said softly, "you don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. We can leave at any time, no questions asked." Mackenzie nodded, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "No, I want to do this," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I'm just nervous." "That's completely understandable," Lane assured her. "But you've got this, Mackenzie, and I'll be right here with you the whole time." With a grateful smile, Mackenzie stepped into one of the changing cubicles. She carefully removed her dress, folding it neatly before slipping into the soft, fluffy robe provided by the spa. As she tied the belt securely around her waist, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Even without the dress, even in this simple robe, she saw Mackenzie looking back at her. She emerged from the cubicle to find Lane waiting, already changed into her own robe. "Ready for some pampering?" Lane asked with a grin. Mackenzie nodded, feeling a smile spread across her face despite her lingering nerves. "Ready?" They were led to a luxurious relaxation area where they were offered fruit-infused water and invited to relax until their therapists were ready for them. Mackenzie sank into one of the plush chairs, marveling at the softness of the robe against her skin. "This is nice," she murmured, taking a sip of her water. The cool liquid was refreshing, with hints of cucumber and mint. Lane nodded in agreement, reaching over to give Mackenzie's hand a reassuring squeeze. "Just wait until the actual treatments start. You're going to love it." Before long, two smiling therapists appeared, introducing themselves as Amy and Rachel. "Which of you ladies is Mackenzie?" Amy asked. Mackenzie raised her hand slightly, her heart racing. "That's me," she said softly. Amy's smile widened. "Wonderful. If you'll come with me, Mackenzie, we'll get started with your facial. Rachel will be taking care of Lane." As they were led to separate treatment rooms, Mackenzie threw one last glance at Lane, who gave her an encouraging nod. Then, taking a deep breath, Mackenzie followed Amy into the dimly lit, fragrant room that awaited her. "All right, Mackenzie," Amy said warmly. "Why don't you make yourself comfortable on the treatment bed? We'll start with a skin analysis, and then we'll tailor the facial to your specific needs." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.